Over the last few years, digital amp modeling has completely exploded. What used to sound flat and artificial now feels incredibly responsive, almost like plugging into a real amp. And for a lot of guitarists, that flexibility, portability, and consistency is becoming hard to beat. So in this video, we're counting down the top 10 amp modelers in 2025, from the most budget-friendly options all the way up to the flagship units used by touring professionals. We're ranking these modelers by tone quality, realism, effects, workflow, live performance, and overall value. So by the end of the video, you'll know exactly which one is the right fit for your setup. Let's get started with number 10. At number 10, we're starting with a modeler that's perfect for players on a budget, but still delivers a surprising amount of tone and flexibility, the Zoom G6. The G6 isn't trying to compete with the high-end units on this list, but that's exactly why it shines. It focuses on what most players really want: good amp models, solid effects, and a layout that's simple enough for anyone to jump into. The touchscreen interface is one of its strongest features, clean, responsive, and far better than you'd expect for this price. Tone-wise, it's more than capable for home recording or small gigs. The amp models have a nice, usable character, and the built-in cabinet options are perfectly fine for practice, jamming, or laying down quick ideas. Plus, Zoom's effects are still some of the most underrated in the budget category, especially the delays, reverbs, and modulation. The real win is value. For the cost of a single boutique pedal, you're getting a full multi-effects unit, dozens of amp models, IR support, a looper, and a unit that runs on either power or batteries. It's a great pick for beginners, casual players, or anyone who wants a compact rig without spending big money. The Zoom G6 lands at number 10 because it's not the most detailed or realistic modeler out there. But when you look at price versus performance, it absolutely earns its spot on this list. At number 9, we have the Line 6 POD Go. The big selling point here is simple. It uses the same Helix quality amp models that touring guitarists rely on, but in a package that's lighter, easier to use, and far more affordable. If you've always wanted Helix tones without diving into deep menus, the POD Go is the perfect middle ground. The workflow is incredibly straightforward. Everything is laid out like a traditional pedal board, so building a signal chain feels natural even if you've never touched an amp modeler before. Despite being compact, it still gives you plenty of room for effects, snapshots, and routing, and the color screen makes editing quick and intuitive. Tone-wise, it's hard to complain. The clean amps feel responsive, the high-gain models have the familiar Line 6 punch, and the built-in effects are excellent, especially the delays and reverbs. For live players, the POD Go is also impressive. It's lightweight, durable, and works great directly into a PA or FRFR speaker. It only lands at number 9 because it has a few limitations compared to the Helix: fewer effect blocks, less routing freedom, and no dual amp setups. But for most guitarists, especially gigging and home players, it hits the sweet spot between performance and simplicity. The POD Go is often the modeler people start with and end up keeping far longer than they expected. At number 8, we've got a compact powerhouse, the Boss GT1000 Core. This unit is all about squeezing professional features into a tiny footprint. It uses Boss's AIRD technology, which gives you incredibly dynamic and responsive amp tones. Clean amps feel touch-sensitive, edge of breakup tones react beautifully to your picking, and high-gain models stay tight and focused without getting muddy. What makes the Core so impressive is its flexibility. Even though it's small, you can run dual amp setups, deep routing, parallel signal chains, MIDI control, basically the kinds of things you only expect from full-sized processors. It's perfect for fly rigs, pedal board setups, or guitarists who want studio-grade tone without carrying a large floor unit. And of course, Boss effects are legendary. The delays and reverbs are absolutely top tier, and the modulation options give you everything from subtle shimmer to full experimental textures. It's a unit that works just as well for recording as it does for live gigs. The GT1000 Core sits at number 8, mainly because the interface can feel a little complex, especially for beginners. There's no touchscreen, and some deeper features take time to learn. But once you get comfortable, this thing is an absolute tone monster in a tiny box. If you want a travel-ready modeler that doesn't compromise on sound quality, the GT1000 Core is one of the strongest options out there. At number 7, we have a modeler that often gets overlooked, but delivers a ton of power and creativity for the price: the Mauser GE300. The GE300 stands out because it isn't just an amp modeler, it's also a full synth engine, a multi-effects processor, and a deep routing system all packed into one unit. If you're the kind of guitarist who likes experimenting with ambient textures, layered pads, or synth-like leads, this pedal gives you a lot of room to explore without needing extra gear. When it comes to core tone, the amp models are surprisingly strong. Clean and low-gain amps have a nice clarity to them, and high-gain models deliver plenty of tightness for modern metal or rock. It also supports third-party IRs, so you can load your favorite cabinets to dial in exactly the tone you want. One of the biggest wins here is value. You get 3-tone capture modes, built-in looping, a flexible effects chain, and that full synth section, all in a unit that's priced well below many of the premium modelers. For players who want versatility without paying premium money, the GE300 offers a lot. It lands at number 7 mainly because the interface and menu system aren't as polished as some of the newer touchscreen-based units. The tones are very good, but not quite at the level of the top-tier modelers we'll cover next. But if you want a modeler that encourages creativity and gives you an enormous toolbox to work with, the Mooer GE300 absolutely deserves a spot on this list. Coming in at number 6, the Hotone Ampero II Stomp. This compact unit is small enough to fit on almost any pedal board, but don't let its size fool you. Inside, it packs dynamic amp models, a solid selection of effects, and even IR loading for authentic cabinet tones. The sound is surprisingly organic for a modeler under $500, with highs that sparkle, mids that sing, and gain that feels lively rather than flat. One of the standout features is the touchscreen. It's bright, responsive, and makes editing your signal chain intuitive, even for beginners. You can tweak amp parameters, stack effects, and load IRs without ever feeling lost in menus. It's also extremely portable, making it ideal for home use, rehearsals, or even small gigs. Of course, there are a few trade-offs. The screen is smaller than higher-end units, there aren't as many foot switches, and extreme tone sculpting might be limited compared to flagship modelers. But for most players, especially beginners and budget-conscious guitarists, it hits an unbeatable balance of tone, flexibility, and affordability. The Hotone Ampero II Stomp lands at number 6 because it gives you professional-feeling tones at a price point that almost no other modeler can match. For anyone just getting into modeling or looking for a travel-friendly unit that actually sounds great, this is a serious contender. At number 5, we have a modeler that really shines for performers who want a hands-on, intuitive interface, the Headrush Prime. The Prime's standout feature is its massive touchscreen. Editing amp models, stacking effects, and tweaking your signal chain feels almost like using a tablet. Everything is visual, responsive, and easy to understand, which makes it great for both live and studio use. Tone-wise, it's a beast. The amp models are rich and dynamic, responding well to your picking and playing style. The built-in effects are extensive, from lush reverbs and delays to creative modulation and pitch effects. And one feature that's really unique is the vocal processing, including harmony and auto-tune. Perfect for singer-guitarists or looping performers who want full control over both guitar and vocals. The Prime also offers plenty of I/O options, USB audio, stereo FX loops, MIDI control, making it a versatile centerpiece for any rig. It's durable enough for touring and has the depth to satisfy professional musicians, yet it's intuitive enough that even casual players can get started quickly. It earns the number 5 spot because it balances power, usability, and creative flexibility. While it's not the absolute top in raw amp tone compared to some flagship modelers, its combination of features and playability makes it a fantastic all-in-one unit for most guitarists. At number 4, we've got a modeler that's redefining what amp modeling can do with AI-driven technology, the IK Multimedia Tonex pedal. This unit is all about accuracy. Instead of just recreating amp sounds, it analyzes real amps and reproduces their tone with incredible realism. Whether it's a vintage tube amp, a high-gain modern stack, or a classic British crunch, Tonex captures the nuances that make each amp unique. The pedal is surprisingly compact and user-friendly. The interface is clean, editing is intuitive, and it plays nicely with pedals you already own. You can load and save profiles, tweak parameters, and create complex signal chains without ever feeling overwhelmed. Tone quality is where Tonex really shines. The modeled amps feel responsive to your playing dynamics. You get the same touch sensitivity and character as the original hardware. Effects are solid too, with delays, modulation, and reverb that complement the amp tones beautifully. It sits at number 4 because it's almost unmatched for pure amp tone fidelity. If your priority is getting as close as possible to real amps without lugging around stacks or heads, this pedal is a game changer. The only trade-off is that it's a little lighter on extra features like multi-effects routing compared to larger floor units, but for most players, the tone alone justifies its place on this list. Coming in at number 3, we have a legend in the world of amp modeling, the Kemper Profiler stage. Kemper is the unit that really put digital amp profiling on the map. Unlike traditional modelers, it can capture the exact sound of any amp, tube, solid state, vintage, or modern, and reproduce it digitally. This means you can have hundreds of classic and boutique amp tones at your fingertips without ever leaving home or lugging multiple amps to a gig. The stage version is especially appealing for gigging guitarists. It's sleek, portable, and built like a tank, making it perfect for touring musicians who rely on durability as much as tone. The amp models are rich and highly responsive, delivering dynamics and feel that impress even seasoned players. You can tweak virtually every parameter, and the downloadable profiles from the Kemper community expand your tonal palette even further. The only downside is that, compared to newer touchscreen-based units, the interface can feel a bit dated and less intuitive at first. But once you get the hang of it, navigating profiles and building your signal chain becomes second nature. It earns the number 3 spot because it's unmatched in amp selection and authenticity. For players who prioritize real-world amp capture and dependability on stage, the Kemper Profiler stage remains one of the most dependable and inspiring modelers out there. At number 2, we have a modeler that's become a go-to choice for both professionals and serious hobbyists, the Line 6 Helix LT. The Helix LT packs almost everything the full Helix floor unit offers, but in a slightly more compact and budget-friendly form. It's designed for players who want studio-quality amp modeling, deep effects, and flexible routing without spending flagship-level money. Despite its smaller footprint, it's incredibly powerful with a huge range of amp models, effects, and cabinet simulations. One of the highlights is the workflow. Snapshots, signal chain editing, and routing are intuitive, making it easy to switch between complex setups mid-performance. The amp models respond dynamically to your playing, giving you the feel and touch sensitivity of real tube amps, while the effects are versatile enough for both classic and experimental tones. For live performers, the Helix LT is reliable, rugged, and plays well with pedal boards and other external gear. It also integrates seamlessly into recording setups, letting you capture high-quality tones without needing a full stack of amps and microphones. It sits at number 2 because, while it's incredibly versatile and performs exceptionally well across most scenarios, it's just a tiny step below the number 1 pick when it comes to absolute tone fidelity and cutting-edge features. But for most players, the Helix LT is a near-perfect balance of power, flexibility, and value. And finally, at number 1, we have the amp modeler that currently sets the standard for tone, features, and versatility, the Neural DSP Quad Cortex. The Quad Cortex isn't just a modeler, it's a complete tonal powerhouse. With its class-leading Shark quad-core processor, it handles complex amp modeling and effects chains with zero latency, giving you a feel and responsiveness that rivals real tube amps. Whether you're playing clean jazz tones, crunchy rock, or high-gain metal, the Quad Cortex reacts dynamically to your picking and touch, making every note expressive and lively. One of the biggest advantages is its intuitive touchscreen interface, complex signal chains, dual amps, parallel routing. All of it is visual and easy to edit. And if you want inspiration, the Cortex Cloud offers thousands of user-created presets, letting you tap into tones crafted by other guitarists around the world. Tone-wise, it's simply remarkable. Amp recreations are incredibly faithful, effects are lush and flexible, and the unit's portability means you can take professional-grade tone from the studio to the stage with ease. The only slight drawback is plugin support. Some of Neural DSP's software plugins aren't fully compatible with the hardware yet, but this is a minor concern when you consider everything else the Quad Cortex offers. It earns the number 1 spot because it combines unparalleled tone, powerful routing, user-friendly workflow, and incredible versatility in a single package. For any guitarist who wants the very best in amp modeling in 2025, the Neural DSP Quad Cortex is simply the one to beat. And there you have it, the top 10 amp modelers of 2025, from budget-friendly to professional-grade tone machines. Which one would you add to your rig? Let us know in the comments below.